A mass shooting, this time in Thousand Oaks, California, 12 dead, including a police officer, Ron Hellis, who gave his life for others. Here are his fellow officers paying respects to their fallen brother on the 101. Now, there is no shortage of ideas when it comes to preventing such horror. The problem is the loudest voices only offer two choices. It's either you want more gun control or you want to arm everyone. We need to escape this prison of two ideas. Here's how. One, we need a system that works. We once had a process for dealing with people who had a known mental illness, but the process is now paralyzed by fear. People don't want to be pegged as violating someone else's rights. Today, psychiatric hospitals house less than a tenth of the people they did in the 1950s. Yet our population has doubled. If we can't house them, then at least tag them so they can't get a gun. The shooter terrified his mom. That's what we call a red flag. Two, we need an industry focused on hardening soft targets. A shooter's body count is limited by the time it takes for a second weapon to arrive. Enhanced security can only reduce that time. Three, finally, the media must limit the persuasive power of its coverage. Studies of suicides verify the copycat phenomenon. With mass shooting, the spotlight's no help. Religious and political terror has an ideology. Criminal homicide has a payoff. It's often revenge or profit. This is the only terror that exists as an end in itself. We can stop it. But to do that, we need to open ourselves up to uncomfortable ideas, ones that take us out of our rigid teams. You know, Danny, when you look at, you see reoccurring red flags in these cases that are just, it's kind of infuriating, but you know that it is hard to find a needle in a haystack. But when the needle, you know, when the mother's terrified, when the person has been visited by experts because of psychiatric problems, you got to ask yourself, how can this happen?
And it's, you know, the synagogue shooting, that shooter was a radicalized anti-Semite, evil person. Was he mentally ill as well? I don't know.
Yeah.
For this individual, the deputies were called to the house because the mother's worried.
Right.
The deputies say, you know what, I think we should call in, following procedure, the psychiatrist to come in to do an evaluation. They come, they do this evaluation, they do it to the best of their ability, and at the end of it they say, our professional opinion is that he is not a harm to himself or to others at this time.
Right.
And there's human error that's going to be involved in this. And we also have the issue of liberty in this country. So how do we figure out how to deal with this? You're exactly right. This is the thorny problem. We don't seem to ever actually get past talking about it being a thorny problem, though.
Yeah, it's the, Jesse, it is the, okay, if people say we need to do something about guns, then people go, no, more gun control. And if you say, I think we need more self-defense, people say, you just want to arm everybody with guns. But there is a place somewhere in the middle that can solve this problem.
Yeah, Mr. Pollack, remember Meadows' father down in Parkland? He tweeted kind of along the lines that you've been talking about. Don't all of a sudden rush to take everyone's guns away. You have to look at mental health, you have to look at security, and you have to look at soft targets, because California is probably one of the strictest gun control states out there, and this city, third safest city in California. So if this could happen there, this could happen anywhere. And if you think back what Dana was just saying, if you had multiple police contacts at the house, neighbors that were concerned, law enforcement concerned that he was terrorizing his mother, terrorizing himself, possibly harming himself, one neighbor said, and there was thoughts of PTSD involved. If you go and send this guy to a mental health professional, and the mental health professional then just checks this box, it's similar to what happened again in the Parkland shooter again.
Exactly.
This guy, you know, he's off the charts insane, and they give him a clean bill of health. These mental health professionals, I'm not blaming them, but they have to address the modalities that they're going through when they see, is this person a threat? Because they're letting off a lot of people that then go out and shoot people. We have this guy, he was a machine gunner in Afghanistan. I mean, he saw some nasty stuff and has probably done some nasty stuff. So maybe you get a guy like this, if he's really seen a lot of action And he's already a loner. We knew that, went through a divorce, living with his mom, not a great matrix there. Maybe there's a mandatory mental health evaluation that you have to do at the VA every single year. If you have a profile like this, you go in, they check you out, they address your mental capacities, and then maybe they can sign off on something. Because right now, there's too many people slipping through the cracks.
I just think there's the veterans community is concerned about tagging people that have PTSD with violence like this, and for good reason, right? Because one, we don't know if there's an exact link. There could be mental health problems from before. And also, there's already stigma enough if you have PTSD in terms of getting treatment. And it's not something we shouldn't talk about.
Maybe you don't take his gun away. Maybe you put him in some sort of program where he can talk about these issues and maybe get medicated or anything that could help solve the problem.
Can I just point out, though, to your point, Jesse, the gun laws in California are the strictest. And there are laws on the books in California for this man's family and any person's family to deal with this and get a gun or guns out of the hands of someone who is a threat to themselves or other people. There are multiple ways to do that in the state of California. One, if a person is taken into custody, evaluated by mental health professionals, and admitted to a county mental health facility because that person was found to be a danger to themselves or others, it is generally prohibited from possessing or acquiring firearms for 5 years in California. And then the state of California was the first to introduce gun violence restraining orders 4 years ago to give a legal path to family members and even law enforcement officers to get a gun out of somebody's hands. And this is in the case of potential suicide or violence to others. But there are mechanisms in place that in this case were not used.
I had no idea that was already in place.
Yeah, so I just want to pick up on the top of your monologue, which was that we get locked in a box in terms of the conversations that we have in this country, because I thought that was so important that people either say, oh, no gun control or gun control, right? And I just want to also point out, as Dana said, this man had been interviewed by healthcare professionals and found not to be a threat to himself or others. So it's not the case that there hadn't been attention. And I would also think that it's very important to say that people who have mental illness are not of a greater proclivity to commit gun violence. There's no evidence between gun violence and mental illness in this country. So to me, what's important is that we acknowledge we have too many guns in this country, and it makes for a problem not only for gun violence, but for suicide in particular. So when I say gun violence, I mean gun violence against others. The other thing that I think is really important is that there are points where we can agree as Americans, and I wish we would get to that. It's overwhelming. If you ask Americans about background checks, universal background checks, Americans say yes, including gun owners, NRA members say yes, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Let's have a waiting period for people who get guns.
But did that stop? He got this gun legally. I'm sure there was a background check. Right?
No, but in this case, I'm sure there was. But remember, he was interviewed, as Dana said, by mental health professionals who didn't have enough evidence in their minds to say, put this guy away or deny him access. And that's another thing, that if someone is found to be abusive of their spouse or mom in this case, they should not be allowed to have a gun. But just the points of agreement, universal background checks, assault weapons, and it seems to me that you have to have a sense that, again, how many guns can any one person have in the country?
Well, I don't know how many.
Well, it only takes one.
Yeah. Did you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to say, but families in that state and many other states, an increasing number, including Florida, after the Parkland shooting earlier this year, if you have an individual in your family who has a gun or guns, and there's a path legally to get that gun out of their hands if you think that they're a violent threat.
Right. Okay. And we just have to remember every day the dangers that the police endure. This is what they do. This is what they do for a living. They rush towards the bullets.
He saved a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Sergeant Ron Helis.